What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So the way things are shaping up for the Clippers, they actually might have the toughest playoff road to the finals in a long time. I mean, the way things are playing out right now, the playoff scenario for the Clippers, it's not only going to be a tough one, but it's also going to be kind of like a weird one as well, possibly, because when you look at the playoffs scenario now, the way it is, right now the Clippers are currently in fourth. If they can win a few more games, they'll probably stay within that realm between the fourth and the fifth seed. And more likely they're going to probably stay in the fourth seed if they kind of just keep going the way they have been. They won 3 games in a row. Big win the other night against Orlando. The biggest one, I feel like, in the last several days was against Philly, a very controversial game where Kawhi just kind of took over in that fourth quarter and basically, sealed the game for him. Paul George had a big game, last night with the 41 points against the Hornets. And the 3-game victory is, much needed for them based upon the way they've been playing the last several weeks. So when you look at the scenario the way it is now, though, as far as playoffs, if they had to play in the playoffs today, the weird thing is they had to play the Dallas Mavericks if the playoffs started today. Now, we all know the history they've had with the Dallas Mavericks in the first round. They have been not only exciting, but they have been like edge, on the edge type games where it's like, wow, like, dang, are the Clippers going to win this? Are the Clippers going to blow this series and lose to a young Luka Doncic? And at that time, he didn't even have Kyrie Irving. And the way the Dallas Mavericks are playing right now, they might be the hottest team in the NBA because they just snapped the Houston Rockets 11-game win streak in which they were the hottest in the NBA until they played the Mavericks. And now the way the Mavericks look and the way Kyrie is playing with Dallas, and now that, you hear Luka say, Kyrie is the Batman, I'm the Robin. So it's like maybe they've accepted each other's, roles in regards to who's the better player and who's the go-to guy at the end of the game, rather than the guy who is, supposed to be the go-to guy, which is Luka. Maybe now they're looking at it from a standpoint, well, Kyrie is more of a closer. And now they didn't figure that out. It looks like they're probably the most dangerous team going into the playoffs. And the way the Clippers have been playing the last few weeks, I mean, you never know what can happen. But of course, I do believe the Clippers can beat them, but that would be a hell of a first round matchup because, see, now you're playing Luka for the third time. And you know how some people believe in superstition. The third time's a charm. They beat the Dallas Mavericks 2 times before in a 7-game series a couple of seasons ago. But it took everything they had to do it. It went to like a game 7. And, and this is the problem with the Clippers in the scenario that they're in specifically, because even if you don't play Dallas, which that would be a great series because just the history between Luka and the Clippers and Kawhi and all that stuff, it's it would be an all-time great series again, especially now that Kyrie is added into the mix. But even if you don't play them again, you'd have the Pelicans are right behind the Mavericks. So if the Mavericks slip up any, the Pelicans get right back into that 5th spot. And that 5th spot, playing the Pelicans is really a bad matchup to a degree for the Clippers because they have nobody ready to stop Zion. The way Zion has been playing this last month or so, I mean, he's been playing like the Zion that everybody thought he actually could be, from the beginning to start of his NBA career going up until now. And the way he's been playing more or less dominant, playing more with his size, bullying people in the paint more, playing with more strength. He looks more healthy than he did, prior seasons and, prior months ago. Now he's looking like he's playing with more confidence. And I don't know about the BI situation, Brandon Ingram, but they got other players that can kind of sort of make up for him in regards to the contributions they get from other players on their team. Now, Brandon Ingram is a big part of their system, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is they got other players that can, maybe not make up for all his skill set, because if you can't never make up for a player's whole skill set, but if you got guys on your roster that could fill in and come in and be productive offensively, that will kind of make up for some of his offense. Now, his length and, maybe a little bit of his distractive type defense he puts on players because of his length. Okay, that might be an issue, but they still got Trey Murphy III, which he kind of gives him a lot of length. He's a shooter. He's almost just like what Brandon Ingram is, except he might be a deadlier 3-point shooter. So, I mean, they have scoring still. They're still a formidable team. So like I said, and with the guard play and the presence in the paint, that would be a problem for them because Zubac can't do anything with Zion Williamson. He just can't. I mean, Zion would probably, have a field day on Zubac, just like they did the last couple games, that the New Orleans Pelicans played the Clippers. So, I mean, that would be a tough matchup. And really the way it's shaping up, that really would be the team that they probably would face in the first round. If we're talking about more likely them, maybe more likely them or the Mavericks, of course, because like I said, between the Mavericks and the Pelicans, I mean, the way their schedule is, I mean, the Mavericks got the Warriors a couple times. They might drop one of those games. They'll probably beat the Warriors one or two of those games, if not both. They got the Rockets again, which that might be kind of tough, but I think they can probably beat the Rockets again. I think they got the Charlotte Hornets or somebody like that, or the Atlanta Hawks. That's another win for the Dallas Mavericks. So, I mean, the Dallas Mavericks out of the next 6-7 games, they're probably going to win at least about 4 out of those 6 or 7 games. And that can probably keep them right there at that 5th spot. And now the Clippers, once again, are facing a team that will probably take them 6 or 7 games, and you're making your road to the finals a lot harder, because if you're in the first round playing a 7-game, going 7 games in a 7-game series, that wears on you. And then you got to go to the second round. Now, potentially the second round, who knows who they'll face, but more likely it might be, the likes of a Timberwolves team or something like that. And then that's a matchup problem for them, because the Timberwolves got length. They got guards that can get to the paint, and they're really good defensively also. So it's like, when you think about that in its entirety as well, the Clippers are really in a tough road of getting to the finals. Whereas, if they kind of stayed the number 1, number 2 seed, they probably more likely maybe would have faced a team like the Phoenix Suns, or maybe even the Lakers. Even though the Lakers, have played the Clippers are really good this season so far and everything, I still think that's a toss-up series, because, anytime you play a rivalry team, it's going to be tough. But at the same time, if the Clippers really bear down the way they're supposed to, they can beat the Lakers. I mean, the last time they played the Lakers, they were up 21 in the fourth quarter and let that game slip away. So, I mean, that's a game that they should have won. So my thing is, instead of the Lakers, I think the season series is 3-1. Instead of it being 3-1, it really should be 2-2. So, I mean, when you look at it from that standpoint, psychologically, I still think the Clippers have the mental edge over the Lakers, because the Lakers are playing a lot better. But at the same time, the Lakers have not seen a playoff Kawhi Leonard before either. So, I mean, that would be tough all on its own. A playoff Kawhi Leonard really wouldn't be bothered by anybody on the Lakers. I mean, only person that could guard a playoff Kawhi Leonard would have to be a LeBron James. And how much energy would he expend trying to guard Kawhi and then be asked to score 25, 30 on the other end and keep up, with the Clippers scoring all around? That would be too tough. So, I mean, that would take too much out of LeBron, out of his older legs, by trying to guard somebody like Kawhi, because they cannot have anybody else on Kawhi Leonard in the playoff mode. Playoff mode, Kawhi would literally kill Austin Reeves. He would literally kill everybody else on that team. You would have to put LeBron on him, and that's going to take a lot of energy from LeBron. Now, AD would have to do a lot more offensively just to keep afloat with the Clippers with all the scoring that they have. So, I mean, that would be really a matchup nightmare for the Lakers if you look at it from that standpoint. So, I mean, like I said, if the Clippers were the first or second seed, whereas they wouldn't have lost a lot of the games that they lost, when they went on after the All-Star break, when they kind of went on a hiatus of winning, and they went on like a losing streak that nobody really could figure out why. It really hurt a lot of their momentum, because now they're forced to be into a first round with either probably the Pelicans or the Dallas Mavericks, the hottest team in the NBA. Whereas if they maintained that first, second seed, possibly, which I thought they could have did that because their schedule was kind of favorable after the All-Star break. They had some games that were favorable for them to win, and they gave up some crucial games. They had some crucial losses that really hurt their momentum and their confidence, I think, as well for the moment. So I think if they would have stayed in that 1 or 2 seed, you finding yourself playing like a team like the Phoenix Suns or like the Lakers, or maybe possibly if the Warriors got hot, maybe you play them in the first round, which that's always a dangerous matchup, especially if Klay Thompson is playing better, which he is. But I mean, I still think the Clippers would have the advantage in that series, because, like I said, they would have they would not only to me, they have a better overall team than what the Warriors have. The Warriors are a broken team that plays good from time to time. That's pretty much what they are. And the fact that Klay Thompson is coming in and out, the starting lineup, off the bench, all that crap, they're just a whole different, they're a whole different team now. They're not the team they were several years ago. But I mean, even in saying all that, like I said, the Clippers' first round is definitely probably going to be a tough one because I don't see the Clippers really getting nowhere above the 4th seed, and they might actually fall to the 5th seed, somewhere in there. So, I mean, honestly, in a situation like this, if the Clippers actually fell to the 6th seed, that would be bad as well because the first round, they more likely would have to face the Timberwolves. That's a first round matchup they definitely don't want to have, because that's going to take a lot of energy out of older players trying to play against those young guys. And then you still got to climb and keep going and see the more fatigue you get, the older you are, the more susceptible you are to injuries. So, I mean, it's like the Clippers really, they really hurt themselves a lot because you want to make your first round as easy as possible. Hypothetically, like I said, if they were in the 1st or 2nd seed and they play like a Phoenix Suns in the first round, they could beat the Phoenix Suns in 5 games. They could beat them in 5 games. I mean, they have a good enough team to beat them in 5 games because the Suns really are a mess. I mean, they have moments where they look good, but they just really have not lived up to what their so-called big 3 was supposed to be projected to look like in regards to having KD, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. So, I mean, that kind of has, molded that situation there. But I mean, that would have been a lot better or a lot more favorable matchup for the Clippers in the first round where they could beat them in 5 games and get them out of the way, have a couple days rest before they go to the next round and play a harder team. You don't want to have it to where you got to play the hottest team in the NBA, possibly in the Dallas Mavericks, who you're playing for the 3rd time in the first round. And that's definitely a dangerous type matchup because Luka was held by himself when they played the Clippers a couple years ago, the first 2 times back-to-back playoff seasons. So, I mean, but in back-to-back playoff series, I think year 2021, 2022, I mean, he was held to play then by himself. But now that they got Kyrie and they're actually gelling, they're actually on the same page. Man, I don't know if you really want that matchup. You see what I'm saying? And then if that doesn't happen, you got to play the Pelicans, where Zion is playing like I said, he's playing more like the Zion that people thought he should have been playing like, seasons ago. Now he's starting to play with more of that confidence. That's another tough first round matchup. Now, I do think, of course, the Clippers can beat both of these teams in the first round. They had to play them in the first round. But like I said, you want to use as less energy as possible. And you're using a lot of energy playing against either one of these 2 teams in the first round. Now, I mean, maybe it might work out to where they go on a little losing streak. And maybe the Suns might actually, creep up there and get into, the 4th, 5th seed or something like that. And maybe that might actually work out for the Clippers a little bit better because I think they have a better matchup with that series if that happened. But I don't see it happening because I don't see Dallas losing 5 out of 7 games, nor do I see the Pelicans doing the same thing. So either way, it looks like if the Clippers do stay in the 4th seed or if they just drop to the 5th seed, they still have to face one of those 2 teams, in the first round. And that's a tough first round matchup, especially when you're trying to get all the way to the finals, because then you'd have to go through possibly the Dallas Mavericks, the hottest team. Then you have to face the Timberwolves. And then, of course, more likely it might be Denver. And then Denver is, going to be the Clippers' probably toughest challenge. And then, if you do get past them, you got to go to the finals and possibly play the Celtics, who I think will be there. That would be a tough matchup, too. So it's like, the uphill climb, you want to make it as easy as possible. But I mean, hey, this is where the Clippers are, and this is what they're going to have to deal with more than likely.